Hello everyone, welcome to this video on Python syntax and key takeaways for beginners. If you're new to programming, Python's clean and simple syntax makes it the perfect language to start with. In this video, we'll explore the most important elements of Python syntax such as indentation, case sensitivity, and using comments effectively. By the end of this video, you'll have a solid understanding of how to write clear and error-free Python code. Let's dive in. Introduction. Python syntax is clean, simple, and beginner friendly, making it one of the easiest programming languages to learn. It emphasizes readability by using indentation to define blocks of code instead of braces or special keywords. For example, consistent indentation is required for code within a function or loop, ensuring a clear structure. Python also avoids excessive symbols, allowing you to write straightforward statements like print hello world. This intuitive design helps beginners focus on solving problems without being overwhelmed by syntax, making Python an excellent choice for learning to code. The key elements of Python syntax. 1. Case sensitivity. One of the key aspects of Python syntax is its case sensitivity. Python distinguishes between uppercase and lowercase letters, treating them as separate entities. This means that variables or identifiers with the same name but different capitalization are considered entirely different. For example, name and name are not interchangeable in Python and represent two distinct variables. In practice, this means that if you assign Python to name and different to name, Python will store these values separately. When you retrieve and print name, it will display Python, and when you print name, it will display different. This strict case sensitivity ensures clarity and precision in your code, but also requires you to pay close attention to capitalization to avoid unintended errors. Understanding and respecting Python's case sensitivity is crucial, especially when working with variables, functions, and other identifiers. By adopting consistent naming conventions and being mindful of capitalization, you can write clear, error-free code that is easy to understand and maintain. This practice is a cornerstone of good programming in Python. 2. Indentation. In Python, indentation is a fundamental aspect of the language used to define blocks of code. Unlike many other programming languages that rely on braces or specific keywords to indicate code blocks, Python uses consistent indentation to group statements. For instance, in an if statement, the code that should execute when the condition is true must be indented under the if line. This approach not only enforces readability but also makes the structure of the program visually clear and easy to follow. However, incorrect or inconsistent indentation will result in an error as Python strictly enforces its indentation rules. It is important to ensure that all lines within a block are indented equally and consistently throughout the program. Avoid mixing spaces and tabs for indentation, as this can cause errors that are difficult to debug. By adhering to proper indentation practices, you can write clean, well structured Python code that is easy to read and maintain. 3. Comments. In Python, comments are used to add notes or explanations within your code to make it more understandable for yourself and others. Comments are not executed by the interpreter, so they do not affect the functionality of the program. For single line comments, Python uses the symbol. Anything written after the on the same line is treated as a comment and ignored during execution. This is useful for brief explanations or reminders about specific parts of your code. For longer multi-line comments, Python allows the use of triple quotes or. Although triple quotes are primarily used for docstring special comments used to describe functions, classes, or modules. They can also serve as multi-line comments in your code. Multi-line comments are ideal for providing detailed descriptions or documenting complex sections of your program. By using comments effectively, you can make your code more readable and easier to maintain. They help you and others understand the purpose of specific code segments, which is especially valuable in collaborative projects or when revisiting your code after some time. Writing clear and concise comments is a good habit that enhances the quality of your Python programs. 4. Variables. In Python, variables are used to store data that can be referenced and manipulated within a program. Unlike many other programming languages, Python does not require you to declare the type of a variable explicitly. Instead, the type is automatically determined based on the value assigned to the variable. For example, if you assign 10 to a variable x, Python recognizes it as an integer. Similarly, assigning hello to y makes it a string, and assigning 3.14 to z makes it a float. Python's dynamic typing makes it highly flexible and beginner friendly. However, to ensure clarity and maintainability of your code, it is a good practice to use descriptive variable names. For instance, instead of using x or y for all variables, you can use names like age, greeting, or pi to describe their purpose. This makes the code easier to understand for others and for yourself when revisiting it later. Using variables effectively allows you to store, manipulate, and retrieve data efficiently, making them one of the foundational elements of programming in Python. By choosing clear and meaningful names, you can write readable and well organized code that adheres to best practices. 5. Printing output. In Python, the print function is used to display output on the screen. It is one of the most commonly used functions, especially for beginners, as it allows you to see the results of your code in real time. The print function can display text, numbers, variables, or even the results of expressions. For example, writing print hello, Python will display the text hello Python. In the output, the print function is highly versatile and easy to use. You can pass one or more arguments to it separated by commas to display multiple items in a single statement. Additionally, Python provides features like formatted strings, f strings, which allow you to embed variables and expressions directly within the text, making the output more dynamic and meaningful. Mastering the print function is essential for understanding how your code works and debugging issues. It is a simple yet powerful tool for testing, learning, and showcasing the results of your Python programs. Whether you are writing basic scripts or complex applications, the print function will always be a key part of your programming toolbox. 6. Taking input. In Python, the input function is used to take input from the user during the execution of a program. It allows your program to interact with the user by prompting them to enter data, which can then be processed or used in subsequent operations. For example, if you write name input enter your name, the program will display the message enter your name and wait for the user to type a response. The value entered by the user is then stored in the variable name. By default, the input function captures user input as a string. If you need the input in another format, such as an integer or a float, you can convert it using functions like int or float. For instance, agent input enter your age will take the input and convert it into an integer. The input function makes Python programs interactive and user friendly. It is particularly useful for creating applications that require user data such as calculators, forms, or personalized outputs. Combined with features like f-strings, you can use the input to generate dynamic and meaningful responses. For example, print f hello. Name will display a customized greeting based on the user's input. Understanding how to use input effectively is an essential skill for writing engaging and interactive Python programs. 7. Basic data types. Python provides a variety of basic data types to handle different kinds of information, making it a versatile and flexible programming language. These data types are fundamental to storing, manipulating, and processing data in Python programs. One of the primary data types in Python is numbers, which includes integers int, floating point numbers float, and complex numbers complex. For example, num42 represents an integer, pi3.14 is a float, and z23j is a complex number. Another important data type is strings, which are sequences of characters enclosed in single or double quotes. Strings are widely used to represent text such as names, messages, or any other type of textual information. For instance, greeting hello world stores the text hello world. Python also supports Boolean data types which represent logical values true or false. Booleans are often used in conditional statements and logical operations. For example, is underscore python underscore fun true assigns a Boolean value indicating a positive statement. These basic data types form the foundation of Python programming. They allow you to work with numbers, text, and logical conditions in a straightforward manner. Understanding these types and how to use them effectively is essential for building programs that can handle a wide range of tasks and scenarios. Control structures, if else statements. In Python, if else statements are used to introduce decision making into your programs, allowing your code to execute different actions based on certain conditions. These statements evaluate a condition, which is a logical expression that can be either true or false. If the condition is true, the code block under the if statement is executed. If the condition is false, the code block under the else statement runs instead. For example, consider a program that checks a person's age to determine if they are an adult or a minor. If the variable age is greater than or equal to 18, the program will print you are an adult, otherwise, it will print you are a minor. This simple logic ensures that the program behaves differently based on the value of age. The if else structure is essential for creating dynamic and responsive programs. It enables you to handle different scenarios and make decisions within your code. Properly using if else statements can greatly enhance the functionality of your programs, making them adaptable to various inputs and conditions. Loops. In Python, loops are used to repeat a block of code multiple times, making them essential for tasks that require iteration. There are two main types of loops in Python for loops and while loops, each suited for different scenarios. The for loop is used to iterate over a sequence such as a list, string, or range of numbers. It repeats the block of code for each item in the sequence. For example, if you use for I in range 3, the loop will iterate over the numbers 0, 1, and 2, executing the code block once for each value of I. This is particularly useful when the number of iterations is known beforehand. On the other hand, a while loop repeats a block of code as long as a specified condition is true. For instance, if you set count 0 and use while count 3, the loop will execute as long as count is less than 3. Inside the loop, you can update the value of count to ensure the condition eventually becomes false, preventing an infinite loop. Loops are powerful tools for automating repetitive tasks such as processing data, generating sequences, or performing calculations. By understanding and using for and while loops effectively, you can make your Python programs more efficient and dynamic, handling repetitive operations with ease. Practice example. This Python program demonstrates how to use conditional statements to evaluate whether a number is positive, negative, or zero. The program begins by prompting the user to enter a number using the input function. Since the input is received as a string, it is converted into an integer using the int function and stored in the variable num. The program then uses a series of conditional statements to determine the category of the number. The first condition, if num0, checks if the number is greater than 0. If this condition is true, the program prints positive. If the first condition is not met, the program moves to the elif num0 statement, which checks if the number is less than 0. If this condition is true, the program prints negative. If neither of these conditions is met, the program executes the else block, which handles all other cases specifically when the number is 0 and prints 0. This program effectively demonstrates how Python's if-elif else structure allows you to handle multiple conditions in a clear and logical way. It is a simple yet practical example of how decision making can be incorporated into your code to provide dynamic responses based on user input. Takeaways: Python syntax is designed to be simple, clean, and beginner friendly, making it an ideal language for anyone new to programming. Its straightforward structure allows you to focus on understanding core programming concepts without being overwhelmed by complex syntax. One of the most important aspects to keep in mind is indentation, which is used to define blocks of code. Ensuring proper and consistent indentation is essential for avoiding errors and maintaining the readability of your programs. Python is also case sensitive, meaning variables and identifiers with different capitalization are treated as distinct entities. Paying attention to capitalization helps prevent common mistakes when working with variables or functions. Additionally, using comments effectively is crucial for writing clear and maintainable code. Single line comments using and multi line comments with triple quotes allow you to document your code and explain its purpose, making it easier to revisit or share with others. To master Python syntax, it's important to practice by writing basic programs. Start with small tasks such as printing messages, taking user input, or using simple conditional statements and loops. By experimenting with these foundational concepts, you'll become more comfortable with Python syntax and develop the skills needed to build more complex programs. With consistent practice and attention to detail, you'll quickly gain confidence in using Python effectively. That's it for this video on Python syntax and key takeaways. Remember, Python's simplicity is one of its greatest strengths, so focus on mastering the basics like indentation, case sensitivity, and comments. Practice writing small programs to build your confidence and deepen your understanding. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe for more Python tutorials. Thanks for watching and happy coding.